This is going to be a quite short video, to be honest. I've been doing this November challenge where I'm posting a YouTube video every single day for 30 days this month. And I'm getting so close to the end that I'm running out of ideas. So what I thought to do was just make a short video on how I actually keep coming up with ideas for a challenge like this. And also just in general, because making tutorials, making videos can get quite a bit repetitive, and getting new ideas while getting those crazy fun ideas for the bigger projects, for me at least personally, it's not the most difficult thing. The difficult thing then is to go out and record it and put everything together in a story. But when you keep making tutorials like I do, it kind of gets a little bit repetitive, and to try and stay ahead of not burning out completely and not getting too bored making these videos as well, even though I do love making tutorials, this is kind of my workflow. So I recently started using this little notepad here, or this little notebook. I watched a YouTube video from Peter McKinnon. You maybe watched the same one, and he showed that he's been using a notebook for a long time. He made one a few years ago where he talked about getting into it, and it was quite a good video. And while I mostly use Notion for keeping everything structured, this is just a great way of writing down ideas fast. And while I also like to use my phone, there's just something about crossing off things off this list. So it looks a little bit like this for the last videos of this challenge that I've been on. I've been using this to write down some ideas. You can see it looks a little bit like this. And I wanted to talk about how I come up with ideas for those series or for more tutorials and videos that I'm doing. So the first one that I always strive back to or go back to is tools and techniques. Because I'm making tutorials about DaVinci Resolve, I can stray back to looking at, okay, what tools haven't I talked about before? Did I discover a new way of using them by watching other creators or implementing it into my workflow? Playing around with things, and as I keep improving all the time, I also get new ideas for how to use these techniques and tools to help improve your workflows and your ways of using these as well. So that's kind of like one part of my niche, if you will, to take out these tools and figure out how to tell a little story or show how to use them in a video. And I'm trying to get better and better and actually implementing storytelling into it, but this is how I go about like the most common ones. Then that also quickly and easily leads into workflow tutorials, which are more about how to do things that I do, like how to grade something from start to finish, how to edit something from start to finish, how to make videos from start to finish. Those kind of videos is also kind of like a workflow thing. And that can be stretched out to other things as well, of like how to use my camera, how to set up, like those workflow things that might have some hacks or techniques that just makes it easier and faster to do it, or that can also be gear or products that makes it easier. So that is kind of within that niche as well, that can kind of be spread out a little bit more as well. Then another one is my real life thoughts and experiences. If I'm going through something, if I experience something, then that can be fun to make videos on. That's not something that I've done as much as I would like to, because the videos don't tend to do as well, as I guess I'm still kind of building this community on YouTube as well, and you're getting to know me, I'm getting to know all of you in some way, and it's really difficult to stray away from the people who are used to just watching the tutorials to videos like this where I'm talking a little bit more and just kind of sharing my thoughts and processes of how I'm doing things or what I'm going through. So those are niche, or like a part of my niche or my personal brand that I want to go more into as I'm done with this challenge and moving forward as well. But it's something that is within the grasp of what I want to do for when I'm coming up with ideas and when I'm running out of ideas, more importantly, because those techniques and tools and workflow videos are easy to make, but they also get repetitive for me and for you. And while I love to watch other people's workflows and tutorials, if I do it too much, it becomes too much of the same because I don't have anything new to show. So that's where the real life experiences and thoughts come into play, because then I can share with you what I'm going through myself in the journey of being a creator and filmmaker and colorist and whatnot. And then the last one, which is probably my favorite category, is comments and suggestions from you guys. Sometimes I come up with a crazy idea and I ask for footage or ideas or inspiration, and you come up with it. And sometimes you simply just ask questions in the comments below, where I can just try and reply to that with a video as well. as well as replying to the exact comment, but sometimes it's difficult to put it into words. So it gives me inspiration and motivation to make a video providing that, assuming that you're not the only person who will want the answer to that question. And if you are, then at least one person will watch that video, and that's also fine. So that's kind of the 4 branches that I'm working within: comments and suggestions from you and others, tools and techniques for what I can do inside DaVinci Resolve, workflow videos on how to improve and get faster, and just getting out a workflow rather than like one tool and technique each time that you then have to stitch together yourself, and then real life thoughts and experiences that I'm doing. One thing that within that last category that I want to experiment more with moving forward is kind of going out and taking a shot, an idea in the field, and then bringing it back into DaVinci Resolve and showing the grade. So I can show the thought process all the way from capturing the shot, real life, like out in the wild, if you will, and then moving that into how I would actually go about using that clip in DaVinci Resolve and putting that together. And hopefully later on also some BTS on larger projects that I'm doing so that I can show the whole process around those things. So if that's something you would like to see, let me know in the comments below as well. And of course, if you have any other suggestions or questions. And my one advice from or takeaway from this video, I guess, is try and figure out what kind of categories that you can always create something within. And even if it gets a little bit repetitive sometimes, or a little bit much of the same for you or for your audience or for whatever you're doing, it's good to have something to fall back on, because I feel like with being creative, it's also just a muscle that you have to keep working. If you stop, then you have to kind of get into it and you're feeling a little bit rusty, whereas if you keep staying and going at it, it's a little bit easier to just jump back in it. And I often also find that when I start working on those videos that are a little bit easier and a little bit more repetitive, I get the ideas for the more grand videos or the new ideas that I haven't explored before. So I think that's my takeaway. That's my sharing of how I come up with ideas, especially when I'm running out for like a challenge like this. And you can also always fall back on making a video on how you come up with ideas, like I'm doing now. And my tip for you is to try and figure out what categories you can create videos within, and maybe have 2 that are kind of strict and easy to use, like tools and techniques and workflows for me, and then have 2 where you can explore a little bit more, expand a little bit more, and widen out what you're doing instead of just sticking very, very narrowly into your niche. Because I think it's good to branch out from a niche or like start in a niche. But essentially what I would recommend and what I want to do is build a personal brand around me, so I can do whatever I want and you guys will be watching because it's me and not because it's another tutorial on DaVinci Resolve, because I can only make so many of those before it gets boring for all of us. So with that said, that's kind of just what I wanted to share with you today. Kind of just like from the hip talking about how I'm going about this, because I think it's an important topic, and now I've been rambling for too long already. So let's call it that. I'll catch you in the next video, and until then, take care.